Welcome to the Huddle Within podcast, where we go beyond the surface to uncover the real impact of sports on our lives, whether it's lessons of resilience, the passion that fuels us, or the stories that connect us all. This is where the game gets personal. I am Daniel, a regular sports fan just like you, and together we'll explore what sports truly means beyond the surface. So step right into the huddle and let's get into it. What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Huddle Within podcast. As you can tell from the title, the day has come. I did mention 2 weeks ago after my little Wizards emotional rant with the draft lottery that if United were to lose the Europa League, I would come back for some more emotional rants. So here I am today, basically breaking down the United season overall, which also includes the Europa League Cup final results, and also the issues that are deeply rooted inside the Manchester United Football Club. These are obviously researches that I've done, but also my opinion as to why we are the mess that we are. And yeah, it's bizarre what I've seen in this club the last 13 years, but especially this year. So obviously, I'm a United fan, been a passionate United fan pretty much my whole life. And I've never, ever seen any of my sporting clubs look and run this badly. And I go for a lot of teams that, besides this mob over here, that are in a mess. So we're going to basically jump into that. But before we do, if it is your first time listening, feel free to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you could leave a 5-star review, that would be great as well. For the first time, sort of like in this podcast scene and kind of content creation scene, I went and did a bit of a content piece at the CQ Bar in Melbourne, interviewing fans post and pre-Europa League final match, most of them being obviously United fans. So to those that I did interview that had the audacity to come on, thank you so much for that. Thank you for giving me your thoughts and your takes. It was a first-time thing for me. It didn't really come as prepared. I do want to shout out my friend Matt with his own page that runs basically signed memorabilia. It's called Signed by Goats on Instagram. I might drop a link in the description below. But he essentially invited me to this event, ran by Dan, who also I'm going to shout out, is the leader of the Manchester United Melbourne community fan page, where he's running events on a regular basis for United games and potentially future sporting events moving forward. They've partnered up with CQ Bar Melbourne, who are also getting involved as well. So I got there, I managed to meet the guys, and moving forward, I'm going to potentially do a few more events coming up as well. Hopefully for a wide range of sporting events and also for football as well. Basically, went there. And given that it was 4 a.m. in the morning on a Thursday, people have obviously work and school or university after the match. It was just great to see so many United fans present at the bar, 350 of them to be exact. And just having that opportunity to give Australian fans a voice. There are a lot of footballing fans in this country that do wake up at crazy times of the night to watch their team play. And that's what it's about. It's about that sport fandom. It's about the loyalty. And in this podcast, we kind of dive into that, as you probably all know that have listened to a few episodes. So being able to kind of share that on my platform and also kind of transfer that into this podcast is kind of what I'm going on about as well. So for those that have come through the content that I created, welcome as well. And yeah, it's finally my time to give my opinion on Manchester United as well. Didn't really have the chance to talk about it with fans, but yeah, we're gonna break it down. And I think the first thing we'll do is pretty much break down the season. So it's a tough one. I've got the table here. We finished 15th on the table, so we did get a win against Aston Villa, beating them 2-0. I think the only reason why we won the game is because of the red card. So I ended up finishing on 42 points. So we managed to just be above the top three or the bottom three teams that relegated, and also on top of Tottenham, but not really, and then Wolves as well. So finishing on 42 points, we lost 18 games. That is a club record. So that's the first time in the club's history, I think in the Premier League, that we've ever lost 18 games. So that's already a crazy stat in itself. we only scored 44 goals. And comparing to Liverpool, Liverpool scored in the 80s. So that they pretty much almost doubled the amount of goals they scored compared to us. And I got the sniffles. I'm a bit sick. We also conceded 54. And in the landscape of things, looking at the table, West Ham, Wolves, Tottenham all conceded over 60 goals. So from a defensive standpoint, one wasn't too bad. Obviously, 54 goals is a lot, but comparing to the teams that are around us at the bottom, not the most goals conceded, but definitely fifth in goals scored. So that was a major concern. We've obviously got out of cups early, terrible performances all around the season, and we did lose that Europa League final, which we'll talk about as well. Obviously, when Ruben Amorim came in, he did expect things to happen badly, but I don't think he was prepared for what was going to happen towards the end of this season. And yeah, just a terrible season. Like I can sit here and be angry like I was when the Wizards got the 6th pick, but that genuinely surprised me. If I'm honest, I'm not surprised at all. Like, yes, I'm surprised that we finished 15th, but I'm not surprised that we had a losing season and a terrible season, especially with how the club has been over the past 5 years, I would say, but most recently, ever since Jim Radcliffe have come in. And he was supposed to be someone that was going to help the club and push the club forward in a good direction, but it just seems like he's making stuff a whole lot worse. And yeah, it's scary. Like, I'm going to obviously go onto that as well. But yeah, again, finishing 15th on the table is just embarrassing. And we thought that there was going to be an opportunity for us to finish in this place, win a Europa League, and qualify ourselves into the Champions League, which would have gave us a big salvage or saved our season. But we all know what happened. United end up losing 1-0 to Tottenham. Brennan Johnson getting a goal in the 42nd minute. Definitely an own goal. I don't think that was his goal himself. And pretty much from then on, Tottenham decided to hold the lead the whole game. And fair play to Ange Postecoglou. He is a fellow Australian like myself. Managed the game perfectly. Deserved the result in the end, if I'm honest, and I'll get into that. But he did say in one of the coldest lines in football that he always wins trophy in his second season, and he proved that to be right. It's Tottenham's first trophy in 17 years, and I'm so glad he was a fellow Australian that did it as well. When he did get picked up from Tottenham, I was really excited for them himself. I've always wanted him to be a United manager, but again, he's still coaching a Premier League club, and he's just proven wherever he goes, he wins trophies. And they've got Mile Jedinak there as well, who was also an Australian, a former player of Crystal Palace. He's also on the management board, so hopefully he might land an opportunity in the future. But Ange's success at the moment is definitely opening the doors and pathways for Australian football to grow, and also for aspiring football managers in Australia to potentially grow and seek top flight management in big leagues in Europe. So awesome play to Ange, but this podcast is about United. So looking at the game itself, if there was any team to sit back against, it would be United, because when we move the ball, it is terrible. We're not a team that is good playing with possession and build-up play, and that was proven in this year's Europa League final. And as a fan watching, I just felt we weren't going to score. It just didn't seem like we were going to score. The way we were moving the ball, so slow, so passive, attempted switches, which we couldn't execute. We had a few chances that you could think that we could have scored. The header, obviously in the 90th minute, and the goal line clearance from Van de Ven. But other than that, we didn't look convincing. A lot of our star players, such as Bruno, didn't show up, unfortunately, and we just couldn't get the result. And as I spoke about Amorim, I do genuinely feel like he did get out-coached this game. As much as I am a big believer in Ruben Amorim, I think he got this one wrong in terms of the substitutions. The substitutions were way too late. Now you can see the consequences of that with Garnacho going out on X and pretty much saying that he only got 20 minutes. So not good things for the locker room. But again, I think that the wrong decisions were made there. In saying that, do I think Amorim should get sacked? 100% no. Reason being is because he came into this season not prepared, not wanting to take the job. he wanted to take the job after this season, so he was able to have a full transfer window and a pre-season where he's able to get his systems in place. He basically got forced by Ineos Group and the Glazers to take the job, or else he'd never get it again. And if Man United comes knocking on the door, well, these days you can say no, but for the stature of the club, you really can't say no. So he took the job, warned us that the worst days are yet to come. And again, he may have not expected us to finish 15th without a trophy, but that happened. And I think Amorim needs a lot more time here. We're going to have to go through this struggle, and it starts with the new signing of Cunha, which is exciting, but again, that's not going to be able to fix our problems. So in terms of Ruben Amorim, I don't think he should get sacked. I think we should be backing the manager here. The problems are not with the management. The problems are above. If you look at all the coaches we've had post-Fergie, we've had Mourinho, we've had Van Gaal, we've had Erik ten Hag, and we've also had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I forget the last one, but pretty much we've had Ten Hag, and pretty much some world-class managers, and they still weren't able to win us a title or make us consistently qualify for Champions League every season. Yes, we won Europa League and FA Cup here and there, but nothing of any significance or nothing as to how big the club of United is. And I think, and we're going to talk about the owners. I will mention the owners, 100% will, but the club is in shambles. In terms of the atmosphere of the game itself, honestly, it was really good to see a lot of United fans there, passionate and in hopes for a result. But the fans let us down. In terms of the result itself, as a club, 100% deserve the loss. And the reason why is because of the issues that happened before the game, the ticket controversies. Players were only allowed to have 2 tickets per player. They're only allowed to give out 2 tickets to fans. And also the staff got none. So no staff were actually supported with free tickets to the game. And if you look at a club like PSG, they've got their Champions League final coming up. The club is going to be paying for every single staff member. And if a club wants to do well in Europa League, wants to succeed, and you're not giving players tickets to their families and friends who they're excited for them to watch and have that extra motivation, and then you don't give staff and you force your manager to pay for about 30 staff members' tickets, then that is ridiculous ownership. That is an ownership that, to me, feels as though they don't really care about the fans. They don't really care about people that are working in the club, that are sacrificing, that are the key reasons as to why the team is in the Europa League final to begin with. It's just ridiculous in my opinion. And then if you look at that, you really think that we don't deserve it as a club. Like that, the reward we get is not that. And what frustrates me is how the club will use the budgets and the high charges as an excuse. But at the end of the day, one, they're obviously going to still be making profit, the owners and whatnot. But two, if you were able to have more support from your staff and for the players' families, don't you think that they would be a little bit more motivated to win the game? I'm not saying that is the ultimate factor. And I'm not saying that if the players, fans, family, and friends were there, they would win. But it would most definitely have given them a higher motivation to win the game, and they would have felt the support coming from their closest peers. In saying that, if they did win the Europa League, they would have had the profit in 100-fold, getting the money to qualify for the Champions League and having that finance too. So by wanting to cut costs, you end up not making the Europa League anyway, and you've already lost that money to begin with. So if you were able to put a small sacrifice that could potentially help your team, if you're not looking at it in a perspective of wanting to win a trophy or wanting the fans to be happy, but simply to put money in your pockets, that would have been a good tactic for an ownership group to actually allow and pay for staff and family to attend the match. So in saying that, ridiculous. The fact that you let Amorim pay for the tickets, absolutely ridiculous. And it just looks stupid. Like, it honestly looks freaking stupid that you are gonna let a coach pay for the staff that you pay for. And you're already cutting staff to begin with. You're already doing all that like outlandish stuff. And before a Europa League final, when there is a chance to salvage your season, when there's a chance to hide and put paper over the cracks, you just add fuel to the fire by doing this. And then we get out what we deserve. We lose the Europa League. Fans are more cut. No Champions League football. And yeah, it's just crazy. And like, this is probably the first time as a United fan where maybe 5 years ago, if we had this conversation, I would have been able to say, what would help fix the club. Definitely would have said the owners have to leave. Definitely would have said that bringing in a coach and actually keeping them for more than 2 seasons and not throwing in money to just random players, improvements in recruitment and all that. But now, looking at the situation, the fact that we're cutting budgets, we've lost so much money as a football club, our value has gone down significantly. I actually don't see a path besides backing Amarim and hoping that he can turn this around, where this club goes back to where it needs to be. And the craziest part is you got Liverpool, who just won their 20th title. Liverpool Football Club is now 20 times Premier League champions, or Football League champions if you want to count past Premier League. The chant that we were so happy singing for so many years has no significance and has no substance anymore. And you don't think Liverpool will not try to win a title next year? They're not slowing down. They're looking at getting Wirtz. They're looking at getting Frimpong from Bayern Leverkusen. They are not slowing down. So if you think that their years are done, then you've got a whole lot coming. So United, we're way behind. We are years behind the big clubs. And unless Ruben Amorim has a miracle or the owners leave, then this is what's going to be for a very long time. So in saying that, we're going to go into basically how this all started. So essentially, when the club was bought, it was through a leveraged buyout. So it was using the club's own revenue to finance the debt. So before the Glazers came in, there was no debt. After, 600 million from the first day. And since then, we've had 1.1 billion gone into interest payments and dividends. They didn't buy the club with love. They bought it with loans. And then they've been paying that price since. So all the money that is taken out of the club is used to pay for the debt. So every single ticket sale, every single merchandise sale, everything that comes from our club, from our fans, our money that we put. Like, I'm in Australia, I go and pay 400 Australian dollars to go watch 2 games at Old Trafford, which was fantastic. But that money goes to them to pay off our debts. It doesn't go into the club. It doesn't invest into anything. And it's only going to get worse. The Ineos group came in and basically we thought that this was going to be fixed up. But as soon as they've come, they've just made things worse. So pretty much we've spent over $1 billion in transfers. $1 billion. So whoever's in charge of player recruitment or transfers is obviously doing something incorrect, because from those billions of dollars that we've spent, I could probably name you 2 or 3 signings that were worth it. And one was Bruno Fernandes. We started signing players that were already developed. That was never United's DNA. With Fergie. Fergie always used to sign players that were either in form in the Premier League and would come to a bigger club to elevate their levels, which is what Liverpool have been doing. And I think that's the best way to improve your team, is to actually get league-proven players that are good enough to play in that league and take it to the next level, or just develop from their youth. And our youth, as good as it looks, is getting forced to play minutes ahead of their time. The players that were back in the class of 92, they were able to rest, they were able to have motivation from players that were older, be mentored, be coached well, and there's no leaders at the club anymore. And that goes down to the recruitment of players that have come in. And with those players that have come in, you've paid them some obscure, overpriced salaries, like players like Casemiro, who, for credits, he is making a lot of money. He is being very professional, however. But there's a lot of players like Rashford, like Sancho, that are on so much money and are not giving that return as players. And that just kills our wage structure. Any player that wants to come in will look at players like Sancho and be like, I want to be on the same money. And it just kills everything. And I know that the Ineos group are trying to fix that, which is one positive I'll take. But that's something that's going to take so long to do. So in saying that, the transfers have been a mess. What else is the training facilities? Ronaldo has said it. The training facilities were the same from when he left to when he came back. No investment in those. The stadium, Old Trafford, it's a beautiful stadium. It's historic. It's given us so much joy. But let me tell you, when I went there and for the first time and got my ticket, I was shocked to see that basically when you go into the stadium, there is concrete slabs of stairs going all the way to the top level. No elevators. I think there is maybe like those old school elevators, I can't remember, which has like the barbed wire fencing and you just go up, but nothing of any modern, like it was not modern at all. There was literally barbed wire fencing across the whole thing, concrete slabs of stairs. It took me like 5 minutes to get up. The outside area was just old and rusted. The roof kind of hangs down like this. So if you're at the back where I was, you barely see the opposite side of the field. It was just extremely old. And we all know about the rat infested and the sewage issues that are done at the club. You've seen when the stadium is like pissing down rain, the stadium finds out leaks, starts leaking, and just so many issues with that as well. And now they've decided to obviously knock the stadium down and build a brand new one, which okay, I'm happy that they are making a new stadium. I would have preferred them to restructure and refurbish the old one to keep kind of the traditions there. But they are creating a new stadium, and that's going to be at the cost of pretty much the team's revenue as well. So from that, the Ineos group have put that plan in place, and they have lost pretty much all the jobs. People have lost their jobs. The club value has gone down like I'm pretty sure it's like $2.8 billion, $2.67 billion since February 2024, and that's pretty much when they took over. And hopefully they're able to get some revenue there, but it's at the expense of staff getting lost. Obviously, what happened with the Europa League and even the retirement fund, where players that have past and present, or past United players that have retired, have been getting funded through this program. They've just stripped that off, and it's literally only £40,000. And if you think about it in perspective, Sancho is making like 5 times that money a week. It's just crazy. Before that, we had Ed Woodward, who was a banker. He wasn't even a club owner. Thank God he's gone. He was one of the worst owners I've ever seen in my life. This bloke had no clue whatsoever. He's gone, so we don't have to worry about him, but he did a lot of really dumb shit when he was there. A lot of opportunities to obviously get bought out by Qatar, who obviously there are some issues there politically and culturally, but I can guarantee you that the Qatari owners would have definitely cleared out the debt, would have improved the structure around the stadium as well, and still been able to have enough money for transfers. They refused that. Radcliffe ended up just jumping in, trying to save the club, owning only 25%. And now the Glazers, who are at the core of all these problems, are not taking any hits at the moment. They're just sitting there, collecting their checks, collecting our profits, while all the fall goes on Sir Jim Radcliffe. So I'm not sure what deal they've put in place, but pretty much Jim Radcliffe is there taking all the heat for this. And he's supposed to be a United fan, but I don't think he's a United fan for all the stuff he's doing, cutting out costs and ruining everything that the club was built about. There just doesn't seem to be any direction moving forward. It just seems to really just cut off the Glazers' accountability, which is shocking to me, which is like something where I think the Glazers should be standing up and addressing the fans, and they never do. They never come out and say anything. They're just collecting money in their pockets, these greedy American owners. They have multiple franchises. They have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They do not care about this club. They're literally there to make profit. And when a club is making profit, that's where the issues go on, because they don't care about the football club. They're not as passionate as you and I, people that get up at 4 a.m. in Australia to watch the team. They don't understand those things. All they understand is business and how they can make money. And as soon, just as like the club continues to grow, and as long as you have the biggest fan base in the world, it's top 3 in fan bases in the world, you're going to make profit and you're going to make money. But how long realistically is that going to last when there's no success? Because I can tell you now, it was very hard for me to watch games this year. I would, in all honesty, in all perspective, I would wake up to watch the game, and as soon as I put it on, I just fall asleep. Maybe cop a goal in the first 10 minutes, the way we were playing football, just put me to sleep. There was no excitement anymore. Like, I couldn't wake up and be excited for a game thinking, oh, we're going to win this game. Most of the games that I would watch, I would think that we're going to lose. Like, how, as a fan, for a club that is Manchester United, go into a football game expecting to lose most of their games? Like, at a time, I obviously expected to lose to top 6 teams, but I never would have thought that every single game we went into, we were going to lose. There was a time where we were literally unstoppable at Old Trafford. You would go to an Old Trafford game, and you would watch that, and it would be pretty much a guaranteed victory. The amount of records that I've seen broken, first time this club's won at Old Trafford in this year, most goals conceded in Old Trafford ever, most losses. We've broken so many bad news records, and there's literally a list that I couldn't even count on the top of my head. But the only one that's intact, and I'm guarantee you it's going to happen, is that when we're at Old Trafford leading a game at halftime, we never lose. And that's going to happen. Mark my words, that will happen next season, where we will be 1-0 up at Old Trafford and we will lose. That's just the only record right now that we have in tap, which is extremely sad. So yeah, going on about post Fergie's departure, 8 managers, no direction. As mentioned, 1.5 billion spent, nothing there. I mentioned basically Jim Radcliffe cutting all the staff perks, calling out players as well, calling them overpaid and not good enough, which it shouldn't come from your ownership group. So that's also extremely disappointed. And basically, they're at big fault for what's happening at this club, and it's really sad. And I want them to go. I wish they could leave, because I can guarantee if they weren't part of this club, we would be so much in a better place. But we're stuck with them for now, and we're gonna have to deal with that moving forward. Regarding the players, so the players, obviously, we can sit there, blame ownership groups, we can blame fans, we can blame anything we want to blame, but ultimately, it is up to the players. The players are the only people that have control of the outcome and the result. What I will say about the players in a critical point is that there isn't enough heart at the moment. There isn't enough leadership. There isn't enough players there that are winnable and good enough. There's a lot of attitude issues. They've had a lot of issues with managers in the past, and it feels as though they have never taken accountability or blame. I'm not going to sit there and say that a player deservedly or purposely wants to lose a football match. I feel like they're all extremely competitive. But then when it comes to a point where you're getting a high quality wage and you think you're better than what you are because of that, egos come through, it definitely does impact performance as well. So I can sit there and talk about the players, but I'm not going to do that, because ultimately it is up to them to perform on the pitch, but they have to be put in situations where they can do that. And with a club that doesn't have good facilities, with a club that doesn't have a good management upper, it's really hard to really kind of judge them that much. But again, they still have a lot of accountability, don't get me wrong, especially ones that have been overpaid and are not putting their 100% on the pitch. What I will say, though, and what irks me, is the fans, and especially the pundits that are on these Sky Sports and whatnot. I'll first start with the fans. Every fan is great. Not all fans are like this. I will say that. But there are so many United fans that are extremely toxic, that extremely are negative, that just go out there to put their opinions on, that does not help anything whatsoever. Yes, their players have bad performances. Yes, there's times where they underperform. But when you abuse them online and when you criticize them, it is a toxic environment. If I look at Liverpool as a football club, Darwin Núñez has been no good. If Darwin Núñez was doing what he's doing at Liverpool, at Manchester United right now, he would have copped so much abuse and hate. At Liverpool, there are the few that do dislike him and cop that hate, but most of those fans are always backing him up and sticking up for him. And that's our club is not that. When we had Xerxes, who just signed for 3 months, we had fans cheering when he came off at halftime. Is that a message you want to send to players that are coming into the club that's signed? That if you're not performing, we're not going to support you and we're not going to back you. I totally disagree. If a new player comes to the club, they are wearing our shirt, they're part of us, they're part of our family, and we need to bloody support them. Look at all the abuse that Harry Maguire got. Did he deserve that? Hell no. He was put in a tough position. $80 million, did not ask, had no control of the transfer fee that was given. And he copped abuse. He copped abuse, and he continued to cop abuse. That's the fans, I'll say that. My issue, and the biggest issue, are the bloody pundits. The Rio Keanes, the Gary Nevilles, the Rio Ferdinands, the Paul Scholes, every single one of those pundits, although they do support United, and I truly believe that they do want what's best for the club, are not proving that. They are going on these big media outlets and berating the players and criticizing the performances week in, week out to fill up our pockets. If they truly cared for the club, if they really gave a shit about Manchester United, do you think they'd be talking about them that way? They are getting paid to talk like that and act like they've been there, they've seen the success, and they have every right to speak on the criticism. Anthony said it perfectly. He signed for 100 million. Obviously, he hasn't been performing well, but you can see what he's doing at Betis. He said, the pundits always are quick to criticize us and criticize my performance, but never do they reach out and tell me what I need to do to be better in this club. I don't see any of those pundits supporting our players. The only ones that they support is England, and you know why, and you can understand why, because there's the national team, they are the players of that nation, and I don't want to berate them. Ridiculous. Absolute hypocrites, those pundits. All of them. Gary Neville was another big example. He was quick to berate the Glazers non-stop, until his mate Jim Ratcliffe came in, said nothing about him. There are agendas, there are biases, and there are just notions that they pick and choose who they want to abuse and who they want to say. A United player and a fan does not do that. You don't see any Liverpool pundits or barely any Manchester City pundits that are on there criticising the club. Even Arsenal's pundits are not like that. You see Ian Wright and Thierry Henry always sticking up for Arsenal on a regular basis. But when it comes to United, they love it. Sky Sports loves putting on pundits that are Manchester United ex-players so that they can get the views and get their criticism and all that. And to me, that is not someone that actually wants to help a club. There's no solution provided from these pundits. They're just out there putting their opinions out and just saying the worst things about this club. And to me, that just frustrates me a lot because they're supposed to be the guys that know what it's like to be at this club and understand, and they don't do anything about it. They were there when Fergie was there. They don't have any raw and honest footage as well. It's always double standards. It's always contradictions. They're just creating division because obviously United fans are going to stick up and stick up with the ex-players because they're the ones that are supposed to be the stars and the ones that have won trophies. But instead of really coming up with solutions or something to unite the club, they are making more toxicity and creating more divide than ever. And it's ridiculous. They have a platform where people love to watch post-game analysis, post-game preview, and all that they see, all United fans see, is how bad the players are, how bad this is, how bad that is. Because why? They want to get views, they want to get clicks, and they want to get money. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. It just frustrates me. The last thing I want to talk about before I kind of summarize what we're going to do and kind of move on in the future is address basically Sir Alex Ferguson. So this is going to be something that is quite controversial, and I don't like to do this on my podcast, but I feel like it's my own opinion and it has to be said, it has to be mentioned. Sir Alex Ferguson, when he left the club, obviously the club went down. We skied down. We haven't won a Premier League title since, all that. When Fergie left the club, I don't truly believe he prepared us for what was coming up. The team that he left us once we won the title, and everyone says Moyes took a title-winning team, that team was done. That was probably the last good year they had. We still had Giggs, we had Scholes, we had Carrick, Ferdinand, Vidic, Evra. De Gea was obviously still new. Rooney, Van Persie, who were all in their 30s. In their 30s. They were the best they would have had. Maybe one more year if Fergie could have got another title out of them because he's unbelievable. But the fact that Fergie left that team in that state really didn't help our club. And I'm not sitting there and blaming Fergie for all this because there's obviously a lot more issues than Fergie there. But I would have loved Sir Alex Ferguson to leave in a way where it allowed our club to be in a position where we could rebuild and for Moyes to take on a team that was more prepared for what was going to happen. Before I say that, though, Fergie did mention to the fans to back the manager and stick with the manager no matter what. So he must have knew that this was going to be some rough times once he left. When he did get started, he almost got sacked. They waited 4 years, and the rest was history. The success that we got was unbelievable. And I'm not saying that Moyes could have given us the same success, but I definitely think if Moyes had more time to rebuild that team, you don't know what would have happened to the club. The club could have been in a whole different situation. We don't know. But I don't think we had the chance to do it, and I don't think Fergie gave Moyes the tools to succeed. And the reason why I say this, if you look at the most recent example, Jurgen Klopp left a Liverpool team that had some legendary players. But at the same time, they also had players that were rebuilt as well. Once Mane, once Firmino left, once Henderson left, they were able to replace the midfield and replace the attacking players seamlessly. And as Arne Slot came in, he didn't even need to change the team. The only player he bought was Federico Chiesa for 14 mil, who barely even touched the pitch. So you're going to tell me that if the team was more set up correctly, we wouldn't have been more successful? I 100% think that would be the case. The only players that came in from that season was Kagawa and Van Persie. Van Persie was 30 years old. He only came there to win a title. He would have expected, obviously, Fergie to stay longer, but he came and done what he needed to do. Kagawa was the future and was the only signing, and Alex Butner, who wasn't going to play, came in. And then when Moisey did sign two players, which was Mata and Fellaini, they were good players for United. They were serviceable players. And I don't think that Moisey really had the time he deserved. From then, yes, he had a terrible season. But do we really think a team that, a club or players that were coached with Fergie's whole season would have been able to adapt to a manager like David Moyes? I don't think so. And the egos would have came into play. The ages and the fact that the players are past their primes would have also came into play. And ultimately, they were impatient and they sacked Moyes. And it's been torture since because Van Gaal came in, won us an FA Cup, didn't do much. Jose Mourinho, as he said, had his best ever season finishing second, but didn't really do much. Van Gaal, Solskjaer came in and he got the ball rolling, got us a bit excited. And I think that was the first time we felt that we were Manchester United. Couldn't continue, lost the dressing room. So maybe if Fergie didn't do that, we could have potentially been better. I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm not putting it out there, but it's just something to think about when the team was going there. I think people were too harsh on David Moyes when he came in. I think that he could have used a lot of time, especially the fact that he won a Conference League with West Ham. He was pretty solid with them, and he's doing pretty decent stuff with Everton as well. I see a decent manager in him. Back then, I wouldn't have said that because I was a kid and then just spoiled with Alex Ferguson. But again, just something to think about there. And again, something that was really frustrating as well. Not really considered as well. I really did wish that we had the tools in place for a decent rebuild. If you look at what Pep Guardiola is doing right now, he's going through that rebuild as well. And he hasn't got a permanent contract available. But let me tell you, if he does this rebuild, the next manager that comes in will be able to take this team and do right things. If he left last season with the issues that they've had and all their aging players, they would be struggling just like us. But that's how I think it should have went. We should have had a team that was ready to go. Fergie is notorious for having multiple rebuilds. He's had 3 different types of teams and won trophies in every single one. If he was able to just create a 4th team for us, and if David Moyes didn't do a good job, then I'd sit here and say I'm wrong. But we will never know, and that would have been something that I would have loved to know as well. And obviously the ownership, as we mentioned, didn't help with this either. So, in saying all this, where do we go from here? It's a great question. I told you I have no idea. I tried to do a bit of research. The first thing I can say is back to manager, which I've already mentioned, but I think the main thing is just to get a big clearance here. I think a lot of players that are overpaid have got to go. The players that are put out on loan, they've got to stay in their clubs. I don't see them coming in and ruining our wage structure. We've already got Mateus Cunha signed, which is great, and I'm happy that they signed him. I'm very excited for the player he can become. I just really hope that United doesn't ruin him. So that needs to be in place. We need to sign similar players to his ability. Definitely need another midfielder. Definitely need another left back. Definitely need another centre back. Definitely need 2 or 3 more attacking players. Attacking players is probably the biggest issue we have at the moment. Definitely need that, and definitely need to clean house as well. In terms of kind of signs of hope, we've got Mainu, we've got Garnacho. They're kind of set, I guess, the future of the club at the moment. We need to continue to invest in those. It does seem, unfortunately, that Garnacho is leaving. So if he does, trying to get as much money we can from him as possible. And then obviously just continuing to develop players like Obi to players like Amos and etc. And hopefully Obi can be ready to play some first-team football moving forward because he seems like a really good player. We also need the leaders to step up and really mentor these players. If Bruno is tired, if he's had enough, let him leave. Let him be successful somewhere else. But I do think Bruno can serve us a lot going forward as well. In terms of fans, we still need to be together and just support each other. I think the environment is too negative across Manchester United. We're too critical of too many things where we create divide, we create separation. we need to unite as fans and we need to stick by the process. This is going to test our characters. This is going to test our abilities. But for Australians, if we continue to show up at 4 a.m., go to bars and continue supporting, we have something to look forward to at least. At least we have people together, going into communities, uniting with people, having someone to cry on as well also helps. So continuing to be loyal fans and supporters is probably the most important thing for us as well. We do need to acknowledge the pain, but we need to maintain that unity as well. And as a United fan myself, I'll try to continue to go to as many games as possible as bars. And next year, really try watch as many games as possible, because I didn't do the best job at that last year, and that also doesn't help. It gives me more engagement into my club and continues to support stuff over there as well. But yeah, that's pretty much my breakdown of Manchester United and the issues there, and basically capping off the Europa League loss and our end of season finish. It wasn't the big rant that I expected in terms of just swearing and stuff. And to be honest, the reason why is because I'm actually not angry. I can't be surprised with where my club is. I can be shocked. I can be disappointed. But ultimately, there's nothing I can do. But I really wanted to get some content out regarding Manchester United. Obviously, as mentioned, thank you to all those fans that did have the chat and went on the interview as well. I really appreciate you guys getting on there. And I really hope you guys tune into this episode and kind of enjoy my breakdown. If you still want to continue talking about Manchester United, feel free to hit me up on all my social medias. And for those that are obviously just sporting fans in general and not United fans, I do hope you still enjoyed this content as well. I would love to get your feedback on what you want to talk about moving forward. I've got some few guests planned up for some future episodes, which I'm really excited to do, and continuing to interview ex-players, fans, and people that are involved in sport altogether. But yeah, another episode of the Huddle Within. Thank you very much for tuning into this one, and I will catch you guys next week. Cheers. So that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Huddle Within podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in and being part of this community where we go beyond the game and into what really matters. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who sees sports just the way that we do. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on my social medias, which will be linked below. Send in your thoughts and even be part of a future episode. Until next time, keep that passion alive, stay in the huddle, and remember, it's always deeper than the game. Cheers.